Questions on relative dating. Question number 1. Answer A is correct. Which sequence best describes the geological history from oldest to youngest? Here's my list of occurrences. Deposition of the layers, then folding or tilting, igneous intrusion with the contact metamorphism, an unconformity which has your uplift, weathering and erosion subsidence, new deposition of sandstone on top of that, and then we can also see some uplift and erosion as well. Which rock unit is the youngest? It would be letter A. There's no contact metamorphism in between this igneous layer here and this on top, so the igneous layer must have come through, cooled down, and then A came afterward. Number 3, evidence of tectonic activity in this cross-section is provided by the fact that normally layers should be flat and horizontal, but we see these are tilted, and so we see folding and tilting. Number 4, the answer is A. Which sequence places the rock layers in fault in order from the oldest to youngest? We'd have the deposition of the layers first and then the fault afterward. Number 5, which event occurred most recently? We have the deposition of the layers. We have the igneous intrusion, but then you can see some tilting here, but the thing that fits in with the answer here is that we see erosion at the very top there that must have happened last. Which rock is youngest for number 6? The answer is going to be shale. We'd have sandstone first. We see the igneous intrusion. We see this igneous formation here, but there's no contact metamorphism. It means 3 wasn't there at the time, so 3 is the last thing on the list there. Number 7, which 2 letters represent the bedrock of the same age? H and D belong to a layer that has been weathered away during an unconformity here, but they actually did attach to each other, so they would be the same age. Number 8, the folding of rock layers G through C was most likely caused by the collision of the plates. When plates collide together, they can cause pressure, sideward pressure that can cause folding and faulting. Number 9, which feature is represented by symbol A along the edges of the dike and the sills? This symbol here represents contact metamorphism. Which rock is the oldest? Using the principle of superposition, at the bottom here we would have the conglomerate, letter D. Number 11, in which zone is younger rock on top of older rock? Well, what I've done here is I've numbered the rock from oldest to youngest, and here we see 1, 2, 3. But here we have a thrust fault in which some overturning has happened, and we have number 1 at the top, 2 here, and 3 at the bottom. Right here we have a fault in which we'd have the older rock on top, and over here we have an igneous intrusion which comes after there, so we would actually have the younger rock on the bottom. Number 12, which order of events occurred at the Hiltonian outcrop between the formation of layer F and the beginning of the deposition of H? So we see F here. F would have had to have been deposited as a horizontal layer. Then we see some folding happen here. That would have happened afterward. We see an unconformity, so we would have had uplift and erosion. And then we see a new layer on top of subsidence, and then new deposition. Answer B. Number 13. The fault in the Evansburg outcrop is younger than. Since the fault goes through all the rocks, it has to be younger than all the rocks. Number 14, which geological process that affected layer F happened first? And so we see layer F here was faulted. The fault happened afterwards. We see an unconformity. That happened afterwards. We see folding and an unconformity here, so that happened afterwards. But what had to be true is the deposition of the sediments had to be present first before the layer could actually exist. Number 15, which statement correctly describes the relative ages of rocks A and C and gives the best supporting evidence from the cross-section? Best supporting evidence is A is younger than C because the intrusion of A metamorphosed part of layer C. Number 16, the most apparent buried erosional surface is found between these 2 rock layers right here. Here's the buried surface. You see it's between D and F. Number 17, which statement gives an accurate age relationship for the bedrock in the cross-section? You can see that C cuts over B, so C has to be younger than intrusion B. For number 18, which statement best describes the relative age of each igneous formation compared to the overlying sandstone bedrock? In this one, we can see contact metamorphism, so that the igneous intrusion is younger than the sandstone. And here you can see that there's no contact metamorphism, meaning that this came up and spilled onto the surface, and then a layer of sandstone was deposited. Best answer is A for this. Number 19, which of these events occurred most recently? It would be the faulting along XY because it cuts across all the other features that are mentioned. And number 20, what's a possible age for this igneous rock E? Well, I see igneous rock E has this contact metamorphism that goes up to this line here, and we have an unconformity right there. Now that means that this igneous intrusion has to be older than 1.6 million years, but it has to be less than 24.2 million years. Best answer would be letter B.